Hello, good night for everyone. I am Daniela from Cruz. I'm going to talk about my research with the mentoring of Liz Alexander Carvajal Pinilla and Aaron Hook as co-authors too. So I'm going to talk about the mutualistic dynamics of seed dispersing bats and ecological restoration as a nature-based solution. So first we have the background where so that many fruit-eating bats are fundamental for ecosystems restoration in the tropic as there are excellent seed dispersers owing to their flight capacity and adaptation to use ecosystem with a high degree of disturbance. Even they are better than mammals and the birds. So one important set of ecosystem in need of restoration due to the anthropogenic pressures in recent years are the sub-Andean forests in the upper Las Ceibas in Neiva, Colombia. There is a country, Colombia's country in South America, there is has the tropics and they have a lot of the biodiversity with this type of ecosystem like sub-Andean forest. So we saw this problematic with this anthropic pressure in this study area. So we did this study to understand how bad species diversity and seed dispersals may contribute to the restoration of the greater sub-Andean secondary forests in the upper basin of the Las Ceibas River, Neiva, Colombia. Specifically, we measure the bat species richness and the diversity at different categories of sites and assessed whether their diet selection and seed dispersal facilitated succession and connectivity between forest fragments. So how we did it? First, we captured with three mist nets that had the 12 meters to 6 meter over 24 nights across 6 months. So in each night of sampling, the three nets were placed from the 7 to midnight in a strategic site interpreted to cover the entire study area. So the sampling part were divided into three groups according first, the vegetation section, and second, the degree of disturbance. So we had the perch or resting site for bats. There's been inhibitor or abandoned houses. Second, we have the forest connectivity zones. There is the transition between the grassland to the sub-Andean forest. And finally, we have the forest restoration zone, that is the forested and forest regeneration sites. Okay, next to that, we put the bats in cloth bags for a period of 45 to 60 minutes to wait until they deposit the guano, or there is the fecal samples for these bats to identify the sets of the seeds of this fecal sample. So before freeing each bat, the following morphometric measurements were taken. So first, we had the foreman leg, the tail, leg, ear, nose blade, femur, and the total leg. All these measures are necessary to identify the taxonomy of these individuals of bats, and even some species has many characteristics that are very specified to this to this type of bats. So that is the reason for all of these measurements. And we identified the bats in the field with taxonomy guides along with collector measurements and photographs, and we check it in the lab. And next to that, with a stereoscope, there is this thing of this. We identify the feeding preference of the captured bats from the fecal samples, and the sets were identified as two species and compared to data on the role of each plant species in the process of forest successions to determine each bat contribution to this process at different type of sites. And finally, the following ecological indices were computed from data on bats captured at each site. The Margalef index for a specific richness. We had the symptom for specific species diversity, and finally the Jacquard index for species similarity and overlap at sampling sites. Okay, with this methodology, we obtained the capture of 20 individuals that were registered, 8 individuals as Sturnira genus. There is this one that registered fruit consume of Saurarian piper plants. I mean, Saurarian paper fruits of these plants. We had 7 individuals of the genus Artibeus. There is this associated with the consumption of Retrophyllum respiculosi. There is this here. This is the fruit of Retrophyllum respiculosi. So this is very important because this vegetation species is very important for the ecosystem restoration because it's a pioneer and persistent forest species and is key for this ecosystem restoration and potential connectivity. And finally, we had the 4 individuals of the genus Micronectaris here, and one in the genus Aptesicus, associated with the consumption of insects. And finally, the ecologic indices showed that almost all sites show low species richness except one, the connectivity sites that have an average of 1.82. The same zone shows most precise show with medium to high diversity, and most other sites show with low diversity. And finally, the jackards, all sides show with low to medium similarity between each other. So with these results, we discuss that the study area has low species richness and variable community diversity, probably because the study area has been degraded and presents high anthropic perturbance. So that is due to the study area has a lot of logging, cattle, agriculture. So all of these anthropic perturbance can alter the behaviors of the bats. And even they have to move to another ecosystem to could survive. And for that reason, in this degraded study area of the sub-Andean forest that is fragmented without a very good structure and a very good connectivity with the other fragments of the sub-Andean forest. So for that reason, could be the low species richness and the low abundance and available community diversity. Okay. Second, we have there's no competitive exclusion among the species studied, so no niche overlapping. So there's mean that the bats don't have to do a competition for the resources, for example, for feeding themselves. So because the low species richness and because they don't share their fruits because they are specialized in some plants that they don't have to fight for the resources. So it's not a problem. And the influence of suckering with bats, especially Artibeus and Retrophyllum respiculosi, is fundamental in the restoration of the sub-Andean forests, since these mutualisms positively favor the establishment phase of the secondary vegetation. And subsequently, it will be improve the structure and the functionality of the ecosystem because these Artibeus but could fly for long distances, and it means that this individual or that individuals of this species could transport a lot of seeds on a very long distances. So that is very important for the first phase of the restoration of this sub-Andean forest. For the establishment, for example, these pioneer an umbrella species to help to the another plants to establishment to do establish in the zone. So additionally, the naturally regeneration forests have high carbon sequestration rates and are more resistant to climatic extremes and diseases, and could therefore be proposed as a nature-based solution for that reason. So it's very important, these mutualisms, because it's a very high positive influence of the for the sub-Andean forest, and it could be generate a very good structure and functionality to the ecosystem. And in conclusion, we have that this study demonstrates the contribution of bad and ecosystemic restoration for the high adaptability to an anthropic disturbance, even if there are specialized bots and they have their environment, they could adapt to an anthropic disturbances, and they could they found the way to survive with this anthropic perturbance, and these adaptations help to the ecosystem restoration. So that is very important for that reason. And the importance of Sturnira is because they're dispersal shrub species that favor the first stage of colonization of forest, of secondary forest. And Artibeus show morphological adaptation and food preference that are essential in the dispersion of forest species. So these genus of bats are have a lot of anatomic structures that are most easily to transportate the very high seeds with very long distances, because there are they have a very high size compared with the other bats. So for that reason, they are very important for the sub-Andean forest for to the structure and the functionality, and even for connectivity in the future. And finally, the bats found in this study are fundamental for the elimination of dispersal barriers in the ecosystem restoration in the sub-Andean forest, facilitating the dispersals of pioneer cherub species and endemic forest species. So that is all. Thank you for everybody to be here. Thank you for your attention. I look forward for your questions. Thank you so much.